The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, tablet number 1 and part number 2. I know that a lot of you are very surprised that I'm dealing with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, because it's been very difficult for me to try. I've tried several times to get into the Emerald Tablets, just couldn't bring myself to do it. Didn't make any sense to me whatsoever, but I owe all the credit to Sandra for coming into my life, blowing open my heart chakra. And as we saw in our last video on the Emerald Tablets, they are emerald. The heart chakra is emerald, so it's impossible, absolutely impossible, for you to understand the Emerald Tablets of Thoth without your heart chakra opened and activated. And it's no surprise that Christianity, both Roman Catholicism and Roman Protestantism, as well as Judaism and Islam, all the Abrahamic faiths, do their best to teach you that your heart is desperately wicked. It's wicked above all things. It's black, because they don't want you looking into it. Because if you look into your heart and realize that that's the heart chakra, you begin to open, you begin to awaken, and before you know it, you're understanding some of the great esoteric and wisdom teachings of the ages. And it will empower you, remind you you're divine, remind you you're sovereign, remind you you're free. And it'll take you out of the fear and guilt control matrix and put you into a place where you're not only free, ladies and gentlemen, but you are free indeed. Let me turn off the ringer to this thing, and we'll go ahead and move forward. I like to keep it on just in case somebody needs to get a hold of me. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back into this really powerful teaching. And again, these are my intuitive inspirations about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And again, it's not been a thing that I have really majored in, but it just came to me, and all of a sudden it's opening up like a lotus flower, I guess you could say. And it's really become powerful to me. And I think there's some really great and powerful revelation here. So let's take a look. And we just, we did video number 1. I'm not going to reteach all of video number 1. But as we continue to go on, and this was coming from about 320 in the first tablet video onward, Thoth was telling us that only the search for truth can quench us. And I don't know where you are in your life. I don't know where you are in your walk. I don't know where you are in your search. But the moment you stop searching, the moment you stop reaching, the moment you start looking for something higher and better is the moment really that you start dying, declining, and drifting into irrelevance. So only the search for truth can quench you, and only the search for truth can really set you free. Don't settle. Don't stop. Keep looking. Keep digging. Keep searching. And if you think you've found it all and you know everything, that's when you really need to start searching. Because trust me, I've been there a couple times. Thought I knew it all. I didn't. Surprise, surprise. So don't allow yourself to become complacent. Don't ever be satisfied. Don't ever get in a rut, because a rut really is just a grave with both ends knocked out. And you die in ruts, and you become insignificant in ruts. All of a sudden, you're in a rut, and before you know it, you're nothing but dust blowing in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind, right? But keep yourself engaged. Keep yourself looking. Keep yourself searching. Try to find and learn and explore something new every day. Don't be satisfied. Keep reaching for the stars. Thoth talked about going out into the stars. He talked about traveling amongst the stars. And then he talks about traveling and traversing the great space within. It really is an inside job, as Sandra loves to say. So there is space to explore in your head. There's space to explore in your heart, and perhaps even through astral projection, the real universes. But the only limit are the limits that you place upon yourself. So keep searching. Don't become complacent. Don't be satisfied. Keep reaching for the stars and keep reaching for the depths within. And Thoth let us know that from his time to our time, human consciousness has been in decline. We're not as smart as we used to be. We're not as spiritual as we used to be. We're not as connected as we used to be. You can see the evidence of our lifespans aren't as long as they used to be. The planet is crying out. We're certainly not in as good a spiritual condition as we used to be. But as I look around, I'm rather optimistic, because I truly think and believe and feel, and it doesn't matter about my thoughts, beliefs, or feelings, but I look around at evidence, ladies and gentlemen, that we're reversing this trend. I was watching Jay Campbell's show last night, and he had 4 doctors on there. And these are 4 regular doctors, and they're talking about how the healthcare system is broke and how they're not allowed to do preventive medicine. All they're allowed to do is prescribe medicine and operate, because that's the only thing that makes hospitals and doctors any money. And it's so great, not that that's the case, but it's so great that there are physicians that are willing to go on YouTube and state these things. So I just think that we're reversing the trend of the declination of human consciousness. And certainly since the advent of Abrahamic religion about 6,000 years ago, it has been on a downward spiral. With the advent of Christianity, both the Roman Catholic and the Roman Protestant versions, we have seen ourselves decline into a place where we believe we're filled with original sin. We believe we need salvation, and we're willing to do whatever the people that say they have the only Savior want us to do. So we become victims of spiritual Stockholm syndrome, and it's bled over into our relationships because we think it's supposed to be a top-down controlling situation in religion and in relationships. And now we're breaking out of this, and we're learning that we are divine, we are sovereign, we are free. I think we're trending back upwards, both in relationships. Mainly women are finding out that they don't have to be dominated and bound like Christianity has taught for so many years, and they're finding freedom. And as the sacred feminine finds more freedom and expression, I think it comes together and trends us back upwards. And of course, with the completed Christ, the Sophia's correction having ended with the full solar eclipse last year, and now being in the completed Christ, the fullness. Now that's amazing. What month was that? I'm just thinking of correlations in my own life. I think it was August. Very, very powerful stuff. That's powerful. I think we're trending back upwards, and Thoth taught us to seek detachment. And as we talk about meditation, that's what meditation gives you, is detachment. And I know Sandra's always harping meditation. I'm always harping meditation. You get tired of hearing it. We'll stop saying it if you start doing it. How's that? Let's make a deal. Because there's no other place that you can find detachment as effectively as you can with meditation. And there's no way that you can find astral projection and detachment from this body until you find the detachment of meditation. It's the fastest, easiest, most powerful way. And speaking of powerful, speaking of important, Thoth then talks about the destruction of Atlantis. And as he talks about it in tablet 1, and somebody chastised me, said I should have listened to all 15 tablets first before I did this. Well, thanks for the advice, but I'm going to go ahead and press on and favor upon you. It sounds like it was almost an abandonment of Atlantis. It almost sounds like they hit the self-destruct button for the good of all earth and humanity, because it was really at that destruction that the wisdom of Atlantis began to be dispersed across the planet. Maybe they knew that Atlantis was dying, or maybe they knew that Atlantis was going to be destroyed. So they decided, let's do it on our terms, and let's just hit the self-destruct button, and we'll all go some other place. Whether they knew it was coming or not. And, how do you get out of there? Almost everybody got out, it seems. How do you get out if you don't know it's coming? How do you get out if you don't know it's planned? I have to ask myself, did they plan the destruction of Atlantis? Was it more of an abandonment than a destruction? And it says here, this is when he went to Atlantis. Obviously, this is when he went to Egypt, not Atlantis. And it's funny because the Egyptians fought against him initially, and then they accepted him. And isn't that the way that most truth comes to us? I know it is with me. I remember Sandra telling me about the rising of the chrism. Get that out of here. That's ridiculous. And now I'm passionate about it. I remember Sandra talking to me about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Yeah, it's just, and here I am teaching about it. I remember Sandra talking to me about twin flames. Oh, man, come on. Now here I am living in a twin flame relationship. Sandra talking to me about Magenta Pixie. Magenta Pixie. She's about to come back on the program, and it was a very, very powerful program. So sometimes I think that when you have a strong negative reaction to something, it's time to step back and say, huh, maybe I should take another look at that, because it's very, very powerful. So having come from Atlantis and to Egypt, Thoth decided to make his seat there. And it was from Egypt, or from Ker, I believe he called it, or Kim. What did he call it? He called it, we got to go all the way back. He called it Kim, Khem. So from Kim, or from Egypt, that was the seat of dispersion for all the Atlantean wisdom. And we really owe a debt to Egypt. And kind of in the end, we all are Egyptians, because those of us that have any enlightenment, those of us that have any spiritual discernment, those of us that have any ascension acuity, we learned it via Egypt. Because from Egypt is where the wisdom of Atlantis comes to us. And it's very interesting to me that the Bible uses Egypt as a curse word. Literally, Egypt is used exactly like a curse word. Egypt is terrible. Egypt is ugly. They use Egypt as a picture of what they call the world. You know, there's a Christian world and there's the world. You're in the world. And if you're in the world, you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. And they put all of that under the category of Egypt. Egypt is the personification of the world. And isn't it interesting that the place from which the great wisdom of the Atlanteans and the great wisdom of Thoth came is bastardized and demonized within the sacred scriptures of Roman Catholics and Roman Protestants. And it was from there that the wisdom of Atlantis came. It's no surprise that they want to block us off from the wisdom of Egypt, because it's very, very powerful. And on the fascinating conclusion of Tablet 1, and this will be a short presentation for us here, which is good because the last one was long. Is there a portal under the Great Pyramid? Fascinating stuff, because Thoth said that he made the Great Pyramid of Giza. He said he made it according to a pattern of a spiritual pyramid that existed in Atlantis, which makes us wonder, was Atlantis itself a Great Pyramid? And he says that he made it a pattern of a spiritual pyramid. And then he said that sometimes when we're actually resting in the darkness of Amenti, next to the river, next to the flame, is that enough symbology for you? That we can actually incarnate while we're resting. And again, this goes back to my idea of quantum spirit groups. Is there 11 of us in other places, and we got these little groups, and if one of us gets tired in one place, another one goes and takes their place? Or if one person decides to rest, they really need it, another goes to take their place. So are you constantly interchanging with your higher selves? Does that explain some of these ideas and feelings we have of walk-ins? Does that explain some of the great changes in people's lives? I don't know. And Thoth said that the dweller, the inexpressible one, the highest deity, always has representatives on the earth today. And I think we have to ask the question, are we the representatives of that great dweller? Are we the representatives of the divine on earth today? And have we been waiting? Did I spell pyramid right? Have we been waiting for someone to come back when we're the ones we've been waiting on all the time? And then this fascinates me as we wrap this up. Thoth said that he went into a portal under the Great Pyramid and disappeared to someplace else. And it said that the Apostle John, when he finished his work, walked into a sepulcher and disappeared into a portal. That's fascinating. Was John an incarnation of Thoth? Was John really the Word and there never really existed this Jesus guy? Ah, that's something I got to get into. Was John the Christ? Wow. John was called the disciple that Christ loved. What did Christ say? The first commandment is love yourself. Is that a clue? Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the conclusion of the Emerald Tablet number 1. This is going to be an ongoing series until we get through all 15 of those tablets. let's take a quick look in the chat room and see if there's any questions that I can answer. See if there's any answers to my questions, because there very well might be. This is a exceedingly sharp group of individuals. So let's take a quick look here. Seek and you'll find. Theophany Sky, the new cosmic knowledge is enlightening. Thank you, Guru Prasad. I strive to make it so. So I'm glad that it is enlightening, and I'm glad that we're able to get past the mundane, the profane, and start bringing things to you that really make a difference in your life. I find meditation useful, and it doesn't have to be boring. I guess I found my own version of it, but ideas were taken from others. You've got to have a practice of meditation if you're going to have any spiritual growth in your life. You just have to. I think the matrix resets every 3,600 years, says Chad Stroll. And we've had some really weird technology and technological glitches today. SANDRA's having them. I've had reports from other people are having them. They click on the show, it plays for a few seconds, it goes away. Had somebody ask me, can entities possess artificial intelligence? I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad atmospheric day, but it does seem to be a little bit odd. 305 Oregon is here because they haven't been satisfied with Christianity as it has been taught. Well, you've got about over 1,400 videos here, most of them talking about Christianity and exposing the cracks in what I call big-time religion. So take a look and let me know what you think. Topper Harley Thoth says there's a portal under that Great Pyramid. I don't know. It would be certainly very interesting to do, very interesting to see. And somebody says that pyramids are points that collect and store data that are sent to us to create the 3D matrix. Maybe. Under the left foot of the Sphinx, there is a room found, says Brian Parker. I don't see any brand of Christian based as a fear-guilt system that I have certainly met people like that. Well, Oregon, may I suggest to you that if your brand of Christianity says that you're born with original sin and that you have to have salvation and you've got to come to their Savior to receive it, and if you don't, you go to a place called hell, I think that qualifies as a fear and guilt-based construct. Aurora Rain says that John might have been the Christ. Any plans to remote view the Great Pyramid? You know, I never tried that, Topper, but I think it would be very interesting to do some remote viewing. I would really like to. That's a great, great suggestion. Preston says that this is a course of study. Fascinating. Thank you. We will go through all 15 tablets. And I hope to have Sandra join me when she gets back from her vacation. She's up visiting her family. Thank you that it is always interesting, Pierce. It's always more interesting when you're here. When you're dealing with pyramids, you're dealing with scalar energy. It has weird properties. Interesting. Interesting. My internet went out at midnight, says Aurora Rain. Sing that before sleep and watch. Interesting. Aerial view of the pyramids looks exactly like a computer motherboard. That is, I've seen that. That's fascinating. And Pierce says there's a spaceship under the Sphinx, and I've heard many people say that the Sphinx was actually a landing pad for spaceships. So lots of interesting speculation. And I think that the Emerald tablets lend themselves to speculation. There's not necessarily answers and specific interpretations, but it's meant to get us to think and get us to expand and get us to look within, go into that dark, quiet, safe place, go into that dark place and light a fire. You'll never know who you are until you strike the match and watch yourself burn to the ground. Get into the dark night of the soul. Get into the blackness and darkness of your life. Do the inner work. And ladies and gentlemen, please, I reread, says Aurora Rain, the books of John with perceiving him as the Christ. Mind blown. I'm going to do that. Because I think he might have been. Was John the Christ? Wow. Black and white photo. Not bad, huh? Isn't that a pretty girl? But anyways. And she's got a fancy new haircut today. So she looks cuter than ever. Remote viewing, soul travel, out-of-body experience. I will be careful, Pierce. Thank you for that warning. All right. For Sandra D, I'm Jeffrey Darty. This is the New Cosmic Knowledge Channel. We're encouraging you to remember you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. Unindoctrinate yourself, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is an inside job. JeffreyDarty.com, rawreflections.org, serpentanddove.org, Raw Reflections YouTube, Sandra D'Angelo YouTube. Check him out, subscribe, like, share. And if you want to work with us, you know how to find us. Again, unindoctrinate yourself. It's an inside job. We'll see you again real soon.